I mean, this doing this work this way, and it really does show you who you are. It also shows you who you aren't,
Yeah.
and it also, if you're paying attention, it shows you who you can be. And so, if you are looking, and you just have to have your eyes open at all times. If you're really looking and paying attention, you get to
Yeah.
see all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are things that are absolutely worth seeing and diving
I
into
agree.
and seeing how you can expand on it and grow and push yourself. Hey, Summit Chasers, you are listening to Voices of Impact, the podcast where you broaden your awareness to the various issues across the globe, learn about the amazing people who are working to solve them, and get inspired to chase your own summit with actionable strategies. It starts right now. All right. Hello, everybody. Today I am with Joy Monroe, the founder of SPARC, also known as Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center. It is so good to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I've been excited about us having this conversation. So thank you for inviting me.
Me too. Me too. Okay. To kick us off, let's dive into what was a pivotal moment that has shaped where you are today.
Well, since I've started a nonprofit for single parents, I guess being a single parent has kind of shaped
Yeah.
where I am today in my life. My own personal experience as a single mom and knowing so many other single moms and seeing the challenges, but also the victories. And recognizing that single parents raise successful children every single day. Sometimes we need a little more support. It's important to make sure that resources are channeled in the right direction in the right way, but single parents can and do raise successful children.
Absolutely. And I think that that's probably, I don't want to say a misconception, but I do think that you often hear of times of like, well, if the dad's not in the house, that can kind of hinder the, why am I blanking on the word? Hinder, like the well-roundedness of the child,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. But I do think that we're at a day and age where it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Or if it's a single father raising kids, that does not have to be the case as long as they're exposed to your resources that you have and just the awareness of, okay, how can I kind of be a little bit of both and also show them that they can be successful. So that's really interesting. How many kids do you have?
I have two boys. And so I
Two
do
boys.
think that both parental roles are important and
Absolutely.
necessary. I do, however, accept the reality that not every child is going to have parents that are playing in both of those roles.
Yep.
So our role really then at SPARC is just to ensure that if there is a single parent, if there's one parent who's acting alone, that we help them with the additional resources and training. We offer parenting classes as well, just to help them understand the extra things that they're going to have to do because you're now one
Yeah.
person functioning in the capacity of two. So I,
Yes.
like I said, was a single mom of two boys who are now adults. So
Yep.
shouts
You
out to
made it.
my and shouts out to you single parents. They do grow up. They do grow up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have two boys now. So well, two men now. Excuse me. Don't let them hear me say that.
Yes.
But yeah. So you really can do it, and you can be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think helped you the most as you were navigating when you're in like the thick of it
Mm-hmm.
and they are trying your every last nerve, I would imagine, and pushing your buttons? What
My
really helped you?
not my precious perfect angels. But no, really honestly what helped me, our motto at Spark is single does not mean alone. So
Mm,
that is really what helped me get through it, is having my own support network, because sometimes, you don't know what to do.
right.
Like I said, I was a mom raising boys. So men and women are different. And so sometimes when boys would be doing things that boys do, that I didn't know or understand, it helped me to have my own support network, to have my own village so that I can go to and say, hey, they're doing this.
Yeah.
Do I, what do I do? And they're like, oh, it's perfectly normal. And I was like, is it? It doesn't look perfectly normal to me. But, people can give you another perspective. So for me, I think what helped me the most, outside of my faith, of course, was having my own support network of people who were walking the same journey as I was, who were also single parents, also raising children, also having the same challenges that I was having. So we were able to help each other, support each other, cheer each other on, and sometimes honestly cry with each other. So it was just really
Yeah.
helpful to have that.
Yep, there's power in having a community and a tribe that understands where you're at. And like you said, you can celebrate together, but you can also cry together or vent together and just know that you're not getting judged because they're in it too. They understand what it's like.
Right.
Uh, at what point did you create Spark?
So I created Spark because I got divorced when I was living in New York. And when I
Okay.
was living in New York, I lived in New York with all of my extended family, and his extended family was there as well. So I was really solidly supported,
Yeah.
in being a single parent. And so instead of recognizing that and appreciating that, what I did was I misread that to mean that things were going so well because I was just doing so well.
Hmm.
So I took that and moved to Atlanta, where I didn't really have family here. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until I got here and I was by myself and on my own and didn't have that support network that I realized that that's what was helping us be successful, was the support of the extended family and friends.
Right.
So Spark really is born of my recognition of that, and then my willingness to go out and recreate that I had lost. So I kind of started with the parents of my son's friends at the school. And it really just kind of grew from there. We started meeting in my living room, and it started getting larger and larger until eventually I realized, someone pointed out to me that this actually could be more than just a support group that meets. It could
Yeah.
actually be a nonprofit because the need is great. The numbers of single parents are only increasing, they're not getting smaller, they're only getting larger. So the need that we have now is only going to be greater.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually answered my next question, which was going to be how did you actually start that? Because I think, especially as an adult, moving to a completely new place where you don't necessarily have friends or family built in, it can be
Mhm.
so scary to put yourself out there and try to make new friends. Like people talk about it all the time, like making new friends in your 30s, your 40s, whatever it might be, and how scary that can
Right.
be. I do think kids kind of bridge some of that because you're going to meet other parents in different activities that your kids might be in or at schools, whatever it might be. So I think that that helps, but nonetheless, it can be very scary to put yourself out there. So what would you say people can do if they're in that situation where now their entire life is kind of turned upside down? They're moving to somewhere new that they're unfamiliar with. How can they put themselves out there to connect with other parents?
Well, I think you start with where you are and look around and see what you have. I always believe we teach a lot about asset based community development in some of the community trainings that we do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think everything starts with everyone has some sort of asset. So look and see what assets you already have. With me, it started at the school. My sons went to school every single day. I knew that they had friends and I knew those friends were parents. I didn't know if they were single parents or two parent households, but I figured let me start here and see where I can go from here. What
Yeah.
also helped me was I was an active member of a church. So that was another place for me to look to see, who else here can fit into my village. Um,
Mm-hmm.
at work, who else here can fit into my village? So for me, I think you always start with where you are. Now, of course, there's so much technology out there. There are all kinds of online groups you can join. Spark has a support group. So there are all sorts of groups that you can join to connect with other people who are in your situation and sharing your circumstance. I just think, like I said, our motto is single does not mean alone. So for us, it is critical that parents recognize that they need to build a network of support, not just for themselves, but also for their children. You may be
Yeah.
the best single parent that there ever was, but your child still needs more than you.
Hmm. Absolutely. So it started as a living room hangout. It got bigger, 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 and you couldn't fit in your room anymore. Where did you go from there?
So from there, we actually went to the school. The principal of the school heard about it, and so her thought was, listen, if you bring it to the school, you can serve more parents because I
Mm.
hear parents talking about this group, and so bring it to the school. So we started meeting at the school, and then from there we started meeting at the church, and it just kept growing because we needed larger and larger space. And so now we kind of
Cool.
meet all over the place. We have an office inside of an apartment complex, so we meet there. Once a month, we have an event called Spark in the Park, which is for any single parent. You can come out to the park, bring your children. We grill, we dance, we hang out, we connect. So it's kind of the same thing that used to happen in my living room, but now it happens in parks now all over Gwinnett County.
That is so cool. I love that. And do you guys have a structure to when you do meet in person, or is it just a hangout come enjoy each other's company, get to know one another? What does that look like?
So it's kind of a combination of both. So we have programs that we offer. And so
Mm-hmm.
our programs also meet at Spark in the Park. So those are structured programs where, we have very specific objectives that we're trying to achieve. And so those are smaller cohorts. So they get to know each other much faster that way.
Mm.
Outside of that, at a certain hour during the afternoon, it's just open to everyone. So that's a much more relaxed way to come and connect. But we do play games so that you can talk to people and connect because
Yeah.
some people are shy or introverted, and so they come because they want to be a part of it, but they don't necessarily know how to join the group. So we do that with games. We do all of the traditional dances. It's just like a traditional cookout.
I love that. That sounds like so much fun. How would you say the parents benefit the most when they get involved? Let's go outside of the community, because that's already super clear that just being able to be in with a group who understands what it is that you're going through. So outside of that aspect of it, what do the single parents get out of Spark?
So we have a couple of key programs that we offer. One of our programs is called Motel to Home, and that is very specifically for families that are living in an extended stay motel. And these are families that are working, that have income that is sufficient that they could afford to live in an apartment of their own and pay market rate rent. However, because motels are so expensive and they're paying every week, sometimes even every day to stay in there, they cannot save enough money to move.
Mm-hmm.
So we help families with the security deposit in the first month's rent so that they can
Wow.
transition from homeless in an extended stay motel into stably housed in an apartment of their own. So they find the apartment where they want to live. They get approved. They get a lease in their own name because, again, we want them to be independent. So the lease is in their own name. And once they've been approved, we step in to help them with the moving funds.
That
Additionally,
is
once they're
incredible.
moved, we help them with ongoing resources. Like sometimes we have agencies that we partner with to provide furniture so that they can be comfortable once they're housed. So that's one of the programs that we offer. And that program for us we particularly emphasize that program because these families are what, at least I've called them, the hidden homeless, because
Mm.
they're not considered homeless according to federal guidelines,
Right.
but according to school guidelines, the children are homeless. So
Mm.
schools will send school buses to pick up children because we want every child educated, but they will pick up children from extended stay motels to bring them to school every day to make sure that the children can stay in school, but those children are considered homeless. But because they are not by the federal government, when resources come into communities for homeless families, these families are excluded. So they don't have access to any of those resources. So that's why it's important for us to help fill the gap, to help them transition from homelessness to stably housed.
That is
Our,
interesting. I didn't realize that at the federal level that wouldn't be considered homeless, but then the kids are, which is incredibly screwed up because those families need access to the resources had they been federally recognized as homeless. So I think
right.
for you to be able to come in and bridge that gap and work towards getting them out of that situation is huge. I would imagine it's really frustrating to realize that that is happening. So what do you think could change, if it's even possible for it to change, as far as being able to get that recognition to be level? Do you think that's possible?
So we've been looking at that. We have a strong history of program development and program implementation. As a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit, we don't have a strong history of advocacy and lobbying in that. We have not stepped into that arena, but this particular population definitely has us looking in that direction. Our primary focus right now is to move as many families as we can right
Yeah.
now so that they don't have to be considered homeless because they really can sustain themselves.
Yeah.
So, what we have done, which I think is interesting and unique, is that when you talk to people about homeless families and you ask people, if you could end homelessness, is that something that you think you would do? And of course, everyone would. But the problem is so large, and so many agencies have been working on it for so long, and yet the problem still exists. So, what we do is we present it a different way because maybe we can't fix homelessness for everyone. But you know what? We can fix homelessness for this one family. And for most moves, it usually costs us around $2,500 to move a family from a motel into an apartment. So when you rephrase the question and you ask someone, if you could end homelessness for $2,500, would you do it? See, now it's quantifiable and now it's something that sounds achievable. And so
Yeah.
now it seems like something that we can do. So the way that we look at it, we do believe that this is a problem that we can solve because there are families that are working, that make sufficient income, that really could sustain themselves, that are trapped in these motels because they simply cannot save the money to move. And if they had that piece of help, then they could be stably housed and independent. So that's
Yeah.
really where we're focusing all of our energies right now. We're really just trying to get the families out.
That is amazing. And also so, so smart. And something that I really want to highlight is how you've reshaped that, because you hear the problem and it can be so overwhelming that you're like, I'm not going to be able to make a difference. If I like, if even if I try to do absolutely everything, I'm not going to be able to solve this as a whole, as a problem, because it is so, so large. But
Right.
when you reframe that, and this is going into business as well, you
Mm-hmm.
reframe that and you make it, like you said, quantifiable and way, way easier to digest and understand, like, oh, I can actually solve this for a single family with $2,500. That is
Yes.
so much more realistic and attainable. And you're able to understand that you are actually making a difference towards it. So that is so brilliant. And I think something that businesses should be paying attention to is how can you shift when you're working to solve these really, really large, overwhelming problems? How can you shift the perspective and the awareness of the impact that you're making in
Right.
order to make it more accessible and more attainable for those that do support you and want to see you achieve the goal that you're working towards? So that is absolutely brilliant.
Yes. So we do like that because we do think that that's what makes it achievable.
Mm-hmm.
So we have housed almost 400 families so far to date. So by the end of the month, I think we'll have housed our 400th family. So we are excited about that. So
That's
to say
huge.
that you have ended homelessness, I mean, ended it, not, stalled it or paused
Right.
it, but ended it for 400 families. So for me, the motel to home program is significant because it really does offer a conclusion to a problem that we don't think we can solve, but we actually can. Even if we solve it one family at a time, that's still
Yeah,
solving it.
it
So,
is.
and then for the families that we've interviewed, when we interview our families to ask them, what is it that brought you into this motel? Like, how did you get into these circumstances? Because, I mean, at Spark, we talk a lot. We talk a lot to our families. We're always wanting to know so that we can make sure our programs actually fit the needs that are out there. So, one of the things that we kept hearing, it was kind of like a recurring theme, is that families are doing okay. They're living check to check. It's not necessarily anything you want to brag about, but it is a reality for a large part of our population.
Yeah.
The issue is when something happens. So I work with a lot of single moms. Single moms have car issues. They're kind of notorious for having car issues. So usually for them, it's a car, but it could be anything. It could be an illness. It could be anything. Um, and then living check to check, you don't have any wiggle room in your budget.
Right.
So you take money to handle the crisis because that crisis is immediate. And then you go back to try to handle your regular bills. But because you've taken money out of your budget, you don't have enough now for your regular bills. And so now these families are our families that are living in extended stay motels. So another program that we offer is a program called the Financial Achievement Club. And that's a program where we work with families for 6 months on finances. We cover topics such as budget and credit and savings and managing debt and how to prepare for a major purchase. We work with families for 6 months. We provide them with a financial coach. So each month they attend a workshop. Each month they have a one on one session with their financial coach to talk about their goals and their financial plans for the month and their savings. Each month, we do require them to put money in their savings account and they have to send us documented proof because while we love and trust our parents, all of our funders don't know them the way that we do.
Yeah.
So we have to have proof that they're saving. And
Yeah.
each month, they work on their credit. So at the end of 6 months, if they have met each one of those deliverables each month, at the end of 6 months, we'll match their savings up to $600.
Wow.
And if their credit score has improved by 30 points, they can earn an additional $100. So by working with us for 6 months and by hitting all of their markers, at the end of 6 months, these families now have $1,300 in an emergency savings account. And on top of that, and perhaps even more importantly than that, they have the habit of savings because they've
Yeah.
been saving every month. So now in the future, when the crisis comes, because none of us are exempt, something's going to happen for all
Right.
of us. There's always some sort of emergency from the emergency savings account. use those funds to address the crisis. They still have all of the money for their bills. And because they've also developed that very important habit of savings, they just simply replenish their emergency account. And so they can move forward without the fear of becoming homeless again. So it's Motel to Home as a program to eradicate homelessness, and then the Financial Achievement Club as a prevention and a cushion to ensure that homelessness doesn't reoccur.
That is so, so smart. I just applaud you for what you've put together and the different types of programs that you put together. And I think that that comes from, like you said, speaking to those that you serve, understanding what they need, not necessarily what makes you feel good to be able to offer this. It's like, no, what do the people that I'm actually wanting to make a difference for need? And what can I put in place to help them achieve that? And
Right.
like you said, you're giving them the ownership of it too. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're going to understand, you're going to get to learn, you're going to get to challenge yourself in a lot of ways to achieve this. And I think that allows them to just take ownership over that and put everything into it and then gain a lot out of it as well. So that's
Yeah.
huge.
And we are particularly proud of that program. The Federal Reserve has come out with a study. In 2020, the statistics said that 40% of American families cannot meet a $400 emergency without going into debt. So Americans just don't have savings. We don't have emergency savings. Since then, that statistics, I think, has dropped down to about 38%. So
Okay.
one of our commitments is to make sure that all parents who go through our program are not a part of that percentage, that they do have an emergency service savings so that they have a cushion against any kind of crisis that can happen in the future. Because usually the crisis that takes a family out and that can have them homeless isn't going to be thousands of dollars. It's going to be $400 or $500 or
Yeah.
$600, and they just don't have it. It might as well be $6,000.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you're right. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, which lots and lots and lots of people do, you've got to have the resources like what you guys offer to understand, okay, how can I navigate this the best way that I possibly can to
Right.
set me and my family up or just yourself up to not end up in a situation like that. So I think to offer that type of education and that type of resource for your single parents is so, so helpful because like you said, it's the difference between them ending up potentially in a motel or homeless versus keeping things where they're at and having a little bit of that safety net. And I think the biggest thing too is that habit aspect. Once you
Right.
have a habit, you're able to continue it. And then you're going to see that grow even more. If you don't run into an emergency for a year, that cushion is now looking pretty good.
It is.
Right? Yeah.
That's what I said. I mean, we love when they graduate and we love how excited they are that they now have this
Yeah.
savings account. That for the most part, for most of them, it's their first savings account. But what we are most proud of is the habit of savings that they have developed.
Yeah. Because it's huge. And I don't
Yeah,
think that it's something that's taught young enough or well enough. Like they
I
spend so
would
much
agree.
time teaching us the Pythagorean theorem. I've never used that.
I know.
I'm like, teach me something that we can use. And then as adults, we get into these situations and we're like, cool, now I got to learn this as a
Yes.
30-year-old, a 20-year-old, 25, whatever, 40,
Right.
whatever it is. Now you're
Yeah.
learning it and you're like, okay, cool. Now I need to reshape the way that my brain has been wired for the last however long
Right.
and instill this brand new habit. But I think, like I said, the fact that you guys are offering that and have seen success, what is the success rate? Do you have those numbers just out of curiosity
So over the
as far as
last year,
completion?
yes, over the last year, we have helped 100 families establish an emergency savings account.
Wow.
And so 94% of our families actually do achieve the maximum. So they get the
Wow.
$600 match because again, we match up to $600. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you only can save $400 in 6 months, it's a very individualized program. We
Mm-hmm.
have matched as much as someone who saved $150. So they now have $300 in a savings account, and we have matched at $600. We have
Yeah.
some families that have, gone over and above what we've asked, and so they save $800 or $1,000, and we're very proud of that. But again,
Yeah.
we match up to $600.
Yes.
So
But that's huge still. Like to be able
yeah,
to then essentially almost double what it is that they've saved or get them over that hump of they've hit the first 1,000. And I feel like sometimes that can be the hardest is just getting you to that first marker point, and then the rest seems to get a little bit easier and a little bit easier, and then it just kind of snowballs. So I think even matching that up to 600 is still hugely helpful to these
yeah,
families because now it's like it's not much more of a cushion. It's another 2 incidents if something comes up that they
yeah,
have covered, you know?
right. And that's particularly important for single parents because single parents have to do so many things alone. So knowing
Mhm.
that they have a partner in Spark, that you save and we save, so we're saving together, it's just
Yeah.
another incentive and helps keep them motivated to stick with their savings.
Yeah, absolutely. So 400 families have been moved into apartments.
Mhm.
100 families have had success rate in your financial freedom program. Sorry, financial
Financial Achievement Club. Hmm.
achievement club. I was close.
Hmm.
Um, that's so many amazing success stories, but there's got to be a few that have kind of stuck with you, and seeing the impact that your programs have had with these families.
Hmm.
Can you share a couple stories if you've got them?
Sure. So one of the moms that actually went through both of our programs, she was a Motel to Home family and she was one of our Financial Achievement Club families. But what's really interesting about her is that we also offer, at Christmas time, we do a holiday adoption program for single parents where we get the wish list of your children, and sometimes we can get the wish list from the mom and we get companies or individuals to sponsor them for the holidays.
Oh.
And that's how she came across our program.
Mm.
So she came across our program. So she was a holiday adoption family for, I think, 2 to 3 years before that. And then she found herself in a motel. So we had just become like her go to agency. So she came to us. We were able to move her. Interesting thing is, we had not connected the dots to how many times and how many different ways we had actually interacted with her and we had
Mhm.
touched her. When she was moved and settled in her apartment after moving out of the motel, then she graduated from the Financial Achievement Club. And so we were doing our very first celebration that we did for National Single Parent Day. And it was a small celebration that we did at the time. It's actually grown, and now we really celebrate it in a big way. But it was one of my board members. We were at his office. We had invited some families in on a Saturday, and we were filming success stories for social media. And so she came in to tell her story. And as she started talking about all of the different interactions that she had had with us, it was like I looked at her and she looked at me, and like we began to recognize each other. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you were the one who did my paperwork." And I was like, "You were the one who came." And it was just interesting, because you really do connect with families like on a deeper level when you're working with them, especially when you're touching them in different programs in different ways.
Mhm.
And it's like becoming that whole extended family that I had to build when I moved to Atlanta. It's like Spark gets to be part of the extended family for these single parents, because I was looking
Yeah.
at her daughter and I was like, oh my goodness, she's like the way I would be like, you're getting so big,
Yeah.
it's that whole kind of, it's that relationship, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that
Yeah.
we don't just get to move families or we don't just get to match your savings. We actually get to become a part of their extended family and we get to watch them grow. We get to, like, it's like front row seats getting to watch
Yeah.
them go from holiday assistance to moving you out of a motel to helping you establish your savings. And now she's saving because she wants to become a homeowner. So even getting to be a part of this full journey for us is so exciting.
Yeah.
um, then we have families that are excited because you have a large number of children living in one room in a motel, and now you move, and maybe everybody doesn't get their own room, but you have two siblings that get to share a room instead of sharing a room now with 7 people. So
Yeah.
all of those things for us are just really a part of kind of the magic of what we get to do instead of,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like their job, but we actually love what we get to do.
Yeah, you find that often. Whoever, when I'm speaking to people who have started and founded nonprofits and get into it, the joy that majority of them have, almost all of them have, when speaking about it, it's like they don't care that they're working 60 hours a week because they truly love what they do. They love who they're interacting with and who they're serving and the opportunities that they're able to bring to people. And I think that typically, like, yes, it's stressful as hell. Like what you guys do is so stressful, and you're taking on incredibly big issues, and sometimes it seems unattainable, like we talked about earlier. But the joy that I think everybody that I've talked to in this space has, it just kind of oozes out of them, almost like that they're just so passionate about what they do and who they help. And I think that that is so beautiful for people who are looking into breaking into a nonprofit space or wanting to go after a problem that they're passionate about. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's stressful, but it is
Mhm.
so worth it, right?
It is. And I think one of the great things about operating in this space is it's kind of like what you were saying, that people who work in the nonprofit space. So I've got really great agency partners and I've got really
Mhm.
great friends that we're all in this space. We're all passionate about making change. We're all passionate about making the world better. So operating in this space, you get to meet some of just the greatest people. So I'm always really grateful for that. I
Yeah.
also think, again, our motto is single does not mean alone. We say that to our families, but as an agency, we practice that as well. So we have great partners. We have great funders. We have great funders that act as partners. One of our primary funders is United Way of Greater Atlanta. So they are our primary partner on our Motel to Home work. They are our primary partner on our Financial Achievement Club work. With Motel to Home, we are part of a Motel to Home alliance. So remember, there's a study done, and they said that there are more than 25,000 families living in extended stay motels in Metro Atlanta. So if, again, I said we have moved almost 400 families, and we are really proud of that. But out of 25,000 families, it's a lot of work that has to be done. So we are part of a larger Motel to Home Alliance, which is a group of about 8 nonprofits that all work together that are focused on helping families that are living in extended stay motels find permanent, stable housing so that they are no longer homeless. So I
Mm.
think this space, this nonprofit space where we all get to do this work that we do, um, it also the an extra benefit outside of getting to work in your passion is getting to work with other people. I've just met some of the greatest people that I know in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's something because you're in Gwinnett County. I've talked to quite a few people who are in Gwinnett County. We absolutely love you guys and what you guys are doing. And I think one of the things that I would say it might not be unique. I know Gwinnett the best in this space, but to
Mm-hmm.
see the way that you guys band together and work with each other and uplift each other and support each other, like I know with Positive Impact and then Streetwise, there's so many different programs that you guys are kind of covering a full spectrum base of people that you can help.
Yes.
And to see you guys all come together and actually try to elevate and solve the root issue rather
Mm-hmm.
than just putting band-aids on things, I think makes you guys unique in what it is that you're doing in
I
trying
think
to come together.
I think because the way that we come together is we seek collaboration. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
just happen. It's not something we shy
Right.
away from. Like we're looking to work with others. I think that's the spirit of what I see with the other nonprofits. So if we're doing, like I said, ours is single does not mean alone. So we're always looking for our next great partnership, our next collaboration. Before we create a program or before we create something, is someone doing this something in this space that we can partner with? Because there's no
Mhm.
point in reinventing the wheel. There's too much work
That's
to be
right.
done to be duplicating services. So
Absolutely.
is someone already operating in this space? And then if they're not, is there someone who's better than we are in this space? And if so, let's partner with them. But if we have to create it, we also will do that. But I think what's unique about where we are is that we all seek and welcome and actively look for collaboration and ways to collaborate because we recognize that's what makes us stronger.
Absolutely. And I think to do that, there has to be no ego involved. And
Right.
I think that you don't often find that. Let's talk outside of the nonprofit space. It's
Hmm.
not often heard of that people are like, they do this better than us. Let's see how we can collaborate together and create something magical out of it. Where I
Right.
think that in the nonprofit space, I don't want to completely generalize because I know that there's fantastic companies that do not have egos. I get it. But in the
Hmm.
nonprofit space, like you said, you guys are attacking huge problems. Why
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel? If somebody's doing a portion that can help the bigger problem, let's
Right.
band together and see what we can really do and elevate it as best as possible. And I think that
Absolutely.
goes a very, very long way.
Yes.
How would you say the work that you're doing has shaped you as a person? I know that you obviously created SPARC because of the struggles that you were going through as a single parent, but
Hmm.
now being able to impact families in the way that you guys have and been exposed to so many different people who have been in probably worse situations, better situations, whatever it might be than what you went through.
Hmm.
How has that all shaped who you are today?
Well, I think it's still shaping me, one, but I will
Yeah.
say this though. Probably the area that I've had to grow the most is My comfort area is quiet and writing.
Mhm.
And being the founder and the director of a nonprofit, I've had to learn to talk to people and network and do all of the things that it's not natural to my personality. So I'm having to develop skills in these other areas, which, while challenging though, is an opportunity for me to just become better than I used to be. So
Mhm.
it's an opportunity for me to grow. So even though I'll keep using challenging, I won't use difficult. I'll keep
Yeah.
using challenging. So while it does challenge me, um, I do recognize that it really is a growth opportunity for me. And I'm really working hard to just embrace it. And um, there's a saying that sometimes people say you're going to do it and you're going to like it. And, it's not necessarily all the time something that you're going to like. So that's what I
Yeah.
tell myself in the morning, like, you're going to network today, Joy, and you're going to like it.
You're gonna love
So,
it. Yeah. I think that that's another, you're really great at reframing things, because a lot of people wouldn't look at it that way. And I think that it's so, so clever and will help you achieve so much more if you can look at those subtle reframes on a day to day basis. And I agree. I would say starting something specifically in your space, but then also just when you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, you want to be challenged, you want to push yourself to grow like you
mhm,
never have before.
right.
Decide that you want to start a business. Decide that you want to start something and go after it. Because my God, are you going to have to learn and get over things and challenge yourself
Absolutely.
to step outside of the comfort zone on a regular basis? But it's also a really beautiful journey because you get to learn so much more about who you are
Yes.
and what you believe in and who you want to help, what you value, whatever it might be. It's an amazing journey to embark on, and I highly recommend it if you want to really learn who you are.
Yeah. I mean, this doing this work this way, and it really does show you who you are. It also shows you who you aren't.
Yeah.
And it also, if you're paying attention, it shows you who you can be. And so if you are looking, and you just have to have your eyes open at all times. If you're really looking and paying attention, you get to see all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are things that are absolutely worth seeing and diving
I
into
agree.
and seeing how you can expand on it and grow and push yourself. I mean, we all know we get one life in this moment in time, so you better make the most out of it and understand who you are, what you care about, and what you want to do. That actually is a great segue into some of our final questions. So, what is the impact that you want to have made when you're gone?
So when I'm gone, what I would like to know is that whether you're born to a single parent or whether you're born in a two-parent household, you have the same chance of success. Right now, statistics say that you do not. Right now, statistics that come out of single parent homes do not look like the statistics that come out of two parent households. And there are reasons for that. So when I am gone, what I would like to make sure is that from the day of your birth, you're not already born at a disadvantage.
I love that. That's beautiful. And what summit are you currently chasing?
So the summit that I am currently chasing is we are, like I said, it gives you an opportunity to grow. So I am now looking at developing a skill set in some advocacy work and
Amazing.
putting a voice to families that are living in extended stay motels because I do not think their story is well known. I do not think their voices are heard. So I'm looking at learning how to advocate on their behalf, so that more resources are poured into that community. Again, if you could end homelessness for $2,500, not $25 million, $2,500, would you do it? And so it absolutely can be done. So just trying to spread awareness to that, and also to really highlight the need for emergency savings for families and
Yeah.
how key that is to overall family stability.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you. How can people get involved and how can they find you?
So we are everywhere on social media and on our website. Our website is www.singleparent411.org. Again, www.singleparent411.org. We are also on social media, and our @ is singleparent411. So we're on
Perfect.
Facebook, we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, and we're @ singleparent411.
Amazing. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, Joy. And I am so excited for everybody to open their awareness and just understand some of these things that you're working to solve and shed light on them. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. And thank you really for this really great conversation. Thank you. And giving me the opportunity to highlight some of these families that don't often get talked about. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another episode of Voices of Impact. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you found value in our conversation, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more inspiring stories and actionable advice, make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, we would love to hear your thoughts and takeaways, so please leave us a comment below. And remember, no matter where you are on your journey, you have the power to climb higher and chase your summit. Until next time, Summit Chasers, keep pushing forward and stay inspired.